Have you ever loved someone, but the closer you got, the lonelier you felt? You care about them, you want to connect, but there's always this invisible distance between you that never quite disappears. It's not because you loved the wrong person. It might just be, you're trying to love someone who's not truly compatible with you. Here are 6 subtle signs that someone may not be right for you, even if they're not a bad person, and even if you still have feelings for them. 1. You can't be fully yourself around them. Have you ever been with someone, but constantly had to filter which version of you they'd accept? You speak cautiously, afraid of saying too much. You hide your sensitive parts, thinking they wouldn't understand. You put on a mask, just to keep the relationship from falling apart. And with every moment, you feel more and more distant from your true self. Sparkles one subtle but powerful sign of incompatibility: you don't feel free to just be. You can't fully open up, because deep down you feel, they're not safe enough for me to be vulnerable. You can't show weakness. You're not allowed to be clumsy, imperfect, or just quiet for no reason. Instead, you perform. To keep the peace. To avoid being a burden. To not get left behind. Brain, but the truth is, a healthy relationship doesn't ask you to trade honesty for harmony. Because if you can't be yourself, who exactly is being loved in this relationship? Broken heart sometimes, it's not what they do wrong that drains you. It's the fact that you're living like a guest in your own world. And that feeling isn't love. It's survival. 2. You feel emotionally lonely even when you're with them. Have you ever sat next to someone, laughing, holding hands, but felt an odd, aching emptiness inside? You're in the relationship, yet feel completely alone. No one really sees you. No one touches the storm of feelings inside you. Sparkles, this is one of the most haunting signs of emotional incompatibility. You could spend hours with them and still feel like you've just been through a long silence, unheard. They might say "I love you" or "I care about you," but never ask, "Are you tired?" What's been weighing on your heart? Brain, loneliness in a relationship isn't about missing physical presence. It's about missing emotional connection. You try to share, but they brush it off or change the subject. You say you're sad, they respond with silence or logic. You hope to be touched, but all you get is surface-level comfort. So you pull back. You hold in your sadness. You heal yourself, swallow your tears, comfort your own heart, while lying next to someone you call mine. Broken heart, the cruelest kind of distance isn't when someone leaves. It's when they stay, but never truly arrive. A healthy relationship is one where you're seen, heard, and met with empathy. If you feel lonelier in the relationship than you did when you were single, it's not your fault. It's a sign you're sharing your heart with someone who doesn't know how to meet you there. 3. You constantly feel the need to explain or defend who you are. One of the clearest signs you're not truly compatible with someone is when you always feel the need to justify your existence. You have to explain why you think that way. You have to prove your feelings are valid. You have to defend yourself just to be understood. You live with the fear that if you don't make everything clear, they'll misunderstand, get upset, or walk away. Thought balloon, you make a joke, they get offended. You open up emotionally, they say you're too sensitive. You go quiet because you're tired, they call you cold and distant. And so the cycle begins. That's not what I meant. You misunderstood. What I was trying to say was. You stop being effortlessly yourself. Now, every thought, every word, every action is carefully edited, just to avoid being misunderstood. Pensive face, and you start asking yourself, is something wrong with me? Why am I always the one apologizing? Am I just hard to love? Collision, but the truth is, you're not wrong for needing to be understood. You're not broken for simply being you. The problem is, you're trying to fit your puzzle piece into a picture that wasn't made for you. Someone truly compatible won't make you constantly defend your existence. They won't make you feel like you're the problem. They won't pick apart your every word just because it doesn't fit their expectations. Light bulb: a healthy relationship gives you space to breathe, to be, to feel. Not a stage where you're constantly performing the correct version of yourself. Because love isn't a debate to be won. It's a language of the heart. It's feeling seen even in your silence. It's being known, without having to explain. 4. Your core values don't align. You can be madly in love with someone. You can have so much in common, the same tastes, the same sense of humor, the same weekend dreams. But if your core values don't align, that connection will slowly dissolve into emptiness. Broken heart: you cherish honesty, they're used to sugarcoating or hiding the truth to avoid conflict. You believe in growth and mutual effort, they believe love is enough, and change is unnecessary. You value deep listening, they use silence as a way to control. You live with gratitude, they view life through a lens of criticism and distrust. And slowly, you begin to sacrifice parts of yourself just to keep the peace. You stop saying what you really think. You stop living in alignment with what you believe. You start shrinking, bit by bit, just to keep them in your life. Brain: here's a truth not many people talk about. Love is not enough to keep two people close if they're not walking in the same direction. When your values don't match, the closer you get, the lonelier you feel inside the relationship. Performing arts: you smile, but inside, you're exhausted. You agree, but inside, you're unsettled. You say it's okay, while everything you value is slowly being worn down. Sparkles: someone who's truly compatible with you isn't someone who mirrors you in everything. They're someone who shares the same light, the same beliefs about love, about right and wrong, about what makes life meaningful. They don't ask you to change your essence. They take your hand and walk with you in the same direction. And in that alignment, you don't have to shrink. You're allowed to be fully you, strong, grounded, and loved for exactly who you are. 5. You don't feel emotionally safe with them. You've tried to open up. You've told them something real. You've let them see the softest, most fragile part of you. And what did you receive in return? Judgment. Cold silence. A sarcastic joke, right at the spot where you needed warmth the most. Broken heart: emotional safety isn't something you can see. It has no shape, no color. But you can feel it, deep in your chest. You feel it in the way their eyes make you shrink. In how every conflict makes you afraid to speak your truth. In how you constantly filter your emotions, afraid of being judged, rejected, or called too sensitive. Brain: a relationship without emotional safety is like a beautiful house with cracked foundations. You never feel truly at ease. You're always on guard. Always tense. Where there is no safety, there can be no real intimacy. Because you can't truly love someone when your nervous system is in defense mode. Sparkles: someone who's right for you creates a space where you can be real. Not perfect. Not strong all the time. Not always rational. Just you, and they still choose to stay. They don't weaponize your wounds. They don't shame you for feeling deeply. They don't make you do all the emotional labor just to feel accepted. Seedling: a healthy relationship doesn't require you to build walls to protect yourself from the person you love. It's a place where you can take off your armor and be embraced with understanding, acceptance, and safety. Pushpin reflection prompt: when was the last time you felt heard after sharing something from the heart? Do you feel like you have to pretend you're okay in this relationship? When you're around them, do you feel relaxed or cautious? 6. You feel more alone in the relationship than supported. It's a painful paradox, isn't it? Being in a relationship and still feeling alone. You send messages, but no one truly listens. You go through hard times, and the person beside you doesn't ask. You're exhausted, yet still have to lift yourself up, because what's the point of saying it out loud? Broken heart loneliness in a relationship is not the same as being alone. It hurts more. It hollows you out. It makes you question your own worth. Am I too much? Am I not lovable enough? Why do I feel invisible, in the one place I'm supposed to feel seen? Brain someone who isn't compatible with you might be physically present, but emotionally and spiritually absent. They sit next to you, but their mind is somewhere else. You share something meaningful, they brush past it like it's nothing. You carry an entire day's worth of emotions back home. And the person you love doesn't ask a single question. Chart decreasing, so you begin to shrink. You stop sharing. You start telling yourself, it's fine. I'll just keep it to myself. Sparkles, but here's what you need to know. The right person won't let you feel alone in their heart. They don't have to fix your pain. They just have to be there. To listen. To care. To gently hold the world inside you like it matters. Seedling a real relationship is one where you're walked with. Not always joyfully. Not always perfectly. But with someone who stands beside you when the storm rolls in. Pushpin reflection prompt. In the past 7 days, have you felt emotionally lonely in this relationship? When you're hurting, how do they usually respond? Do you still feel like this relationship is a place of rest, or a place you have to survive? Direct hit final thoughts. Incompatibility doesn't always scream. Sometimes it shows up as tiny fractures in the connection, as quiet gaps in your heart that no one notices, but you feel them every day. If you find yourself shrinking, struggling, or feeling deeply alone in a relationship, maybe what you need is a connection that's healthier, deeper, and safer. Not all relationships end because someone was cruel. Sometimes, they end because of a quiet mismatch. In values, in communication, in the way you love. You can love someone deeply. But if you can't be yourself around them, that love will start to wear you down. Broken heart incompatibility doesn't mean someone is a bad person. It simply means your soul needs a different kind of connection. A kind of love that feels safe, respectful, understood. Not a love that requires you to constantly carry the weight alone. Sparkles, remember this. Real love doesn't ask you to shrink to fit into someone else's world. It expands you. It frees you. It lets you be, and be loved, fully. If a relationship demands that you sacrifice too much of who you are to survive, then maybe that's not where you belong. You deserve a love that doesn't require you to hold it all together. A person who doesn't make you question your feelings. A connection that doesn't make you feel alone, even when someone's right beside you. Candle, and if you see yourself in these signs, no, this isn't the end. It's the beginning of choosing the right person, the right kind of love, and the truest version of happiness that was always meant for you.